Hey everybody, I am Big Will. That is Who Dat Comics. And yeah, we're going to talk more about CGC. They keep doing things and we have to talk about it. So uh, I guess we should just get right into it. Now, you said you know of what's happened, but you haven't got a chance to actually read through it yet.
Yeah, that's correct. We kind of talked to some other people about it and know a little bit. I don't know everything, but it's going from what I've been hearing. And excuse me for my voice, people. I'm still dealing with like a sinus infection. So
Yeah. Well, the post that they have on their website, it really has three parts. So we'll just go each part here and discuss it a little bit. And then once we're done with this show, a few minutes later, you can catch Who Dat on Whatnot in lieu of the YouTube auction that he normally hosts on Thursdays. That's canceled, but instead he's got you on Whatnot, and this is a Titan Thursday on Whatnot, right? First time you've done it?
yeah, it's my first time doing it. I'm gonna try something out. I'm gonna bring some big slabs and raw books. Everything will be like $100 or more. So I just want to try it out and whatnot, see what people think, because I want to continue to do it on YouTube once a month, but maybe I can add it once a month to Whatnot. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be a short one too, so if somebody watches this later, let me check Who Dat on Whatnot. I'm not going to be on that long. I got 10 to 15 items, and if you don't have hundreds of items, it's going to be very fast with 10 to 15 items. You're talking like I'll do a minute and a half, a few more times since it's bigger books, but. I mean, what are you talking, like 15 minutes? I'll be done. So,
yeah. But having said that, let's get in this thing here. I'm going to pull it full screen. I know some of you might not be able to read that. I know Who Dat probably can't read that unless he takes the whole StreamYard view and does it full screen.
I can see it.
I'm going to read it out to you guys. Let's go. Parameters modified for defects listed on the CGC labels. So, and this was done on the 25th. Yesterday is when this was posted. This is brand new. Because CGC members now have free access to grader's notes, not as many defects will be listed on the certification label. Based on feedback from prominent members of the collecting community, Certified Guaranteed Company is implementing a change that will reduce the number of defects that are identified on the comic book label. Traditionally, certain defects were listed on the CGC label if they were present on a certified comic book, which we also recorded in the comic book's grader's notes. Because CGC members now have free access to grader's notes, this redundancy is being eliminated from the label for the presence of the following defects. Now, before we get into that list of defects, how is your feeling on what I just read, that part right there? There was a couple cringe moments for me when I heard them. How about you?
When they put the statement saying grader notes are free for members only, that's kind of like a little cringe moment, because like if you're not a member, that means you have to pay for it. So it's a little like, it's not. That statement would have sounded better if it was like, since we are giving free grader notes to everybody, we're taking the liberty to take stuff off of the label. That would have sounded better, just because that means I could just look it up free. I'm not a member, Not everybody wants to keep a membership. Like you might use them for like 1 year and then say you don't grade anything for a year.
But as things are right now, you have to have a paid membership to get those free notes. All right. Anything else come out at you, or do you want me to continue on?
Yeah, you can continue on, but that's when you first hear it, that's the one that just sticks out at me. It's kind of like F you if you don't have a paid membership.
So the last sentence I read is that this redundancy is being eliminated for the presence of the following defects. So no longer on the label will you see these defects. All right, stickers. All right, stickers. I have never seen a book with that on it. I'm sure they exist out there.
I had one.
Well, if it's on the cover, okay, but if it's on the interior, I'd still like to know that, because that would affect my, do I find it worth it to maybe crack it out and do something better? But I don't know. Siamese pages. That is, I don't know how I feel about that, because that's pages that haven't been completely cut, so they're fused together at like the top of the comic.
Mhm.
So you can't tell that by looking at the slab. So I don't know how I feel about that one. Punch holes, that's fine. I don't care if they put that
Yeah,
on
you
the
can be
label or
able to
not.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that. Staples added after manufacturing, you can't tell when they were added by looking at it.
Mhm.
I mean, they can, but they're not just looking at it. They're like in depth. They probably test them. So to me, that's something that I would want to have on there. Staples removed. I would want to know if the original staples were removed on a book, especially if they added new staples that were not of the same era.
Mhm.
I don't like that. Detachments. That's probably the biggest one on this list. I
Yeah.
would want detachments listed on the label, because you can't see them unless it's the cover, and half the time you can't really see it on the cover unless it's an obvious detachment where it's moved. Fully split spine. Again, you can't really see the spine too well unless it's an extreme 1.0 level full spine split. You're not going to see that. I've had a spine split very small on a 9.6. There was no way to see it in the slab.
Mhm.
Tape. All right. Well, now if tape's on the outside, I understand not putting it on the label.
Mhm.
But you sold me a book that had tape on it, and it listed it tape on cover, but it was inside the book is where the tape was.
And we were trying to figure it out for the longest because all it did was
Yeah.
say tape on the cover. So I had no.
Right. And
We look
it
at
took me cracking it out because I wanted it raw to see that the tape was on the inside. And then significant missing parts from the cover. That's obvious. I don't care about that. They can get rid of that. Lamination, that's usually obvious, because if you're going to laminate it, you're going to laminate the entire book. You can't really laminate a page without cutting the page out.
Mhm.
So I'm okay with that. Miscuts, it depends on the degree of the miscut, really. And is it the interior pages that were miscut, or is it the whole book? And does miscut account for trimming or no?
Yeah, they need to be
I don't know.
more elaborate on that.
Yeah, puzzles or coupons filled out. That I don't care about, because that's just simply writing or damage to the book. That is shown in the grade of the book itself. So I'm okay with that.
And that doesn't affect the story at all anyway. So
Right. And then they go on to say, CGC will continue to identify on the label any significant missing pieces, pages, wraps, or inserts from the interior of a comic. Each comic book's grade will reflect all missing parts, and those missing parts will be recorded in the grader's notes. So before we get to the third part of this, what do you think about what we just got through reading?
the ones with the things the ones they listed. I'm not okay with any of them, but I'm okay with certain ones that are obvious on the outside cover. Yeah. So if you made it different or worded it different, like tape, if you said we won't label tape that's on the outside cover, I'm fine with that, because if you're looking at the slide front back, you should be able to see the tape. Same thing with the punch holes. Like you should be able to see punch holes or a missing piece of the cover. That type of stuff I'm okay with, because like if you're visually looking at it, you should see that stuff. So I would be okay with not having that, because I've had books they'll say tape on cover, and you're like, look, it's a little tiny piece. Like it's literally a little tiny piece. I'm like, you put it on there and make it sound, it makes it look like it's worse, but it's the tiniest of pieces. Everything else I'm kind of like miscuts. Miscuts, it depends on, like, you could see miscuts, so it's not. But if it's like drastic, you would still see if it was very bad.
Well, if it's an interior page.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I have to clarify and keep talking. When I'm talking about stuff, it's for outside aesthetics that you can see, front or back. I'm okay with that getting taken off. Anything dealing with that could be in the inside, I'm not, because that means I have to pay for something or I have to rely on the seller. It's a lot, a lot of question mark stuff.
Let's continue with the last part of it and see if it gets any better. Okay, the last part says that CGC is discontinuing the use of the term incomplete on its label, as well as the terms affect story and does not affect story when parts are missing from the interior of a comic. The CGC label will continue to display restoration, conservation, and qualifiers as we have in the past, including married parts, color copies, wrong parts, coverless comic, individual wraps and pages, multiple covers, additional inserts, and unverified signatures on the cover. Now, I don't know about you, Hudat, but it incomplete. If you say 2 wraps missing, you don't have to also put incomplete. Obviously, it's incomplete if it's missing part of the book. Mm-hmm. But affects story and does not affect story, I want to know that.
Yeah, because I actually had a Avengers 1 a long time ago. It was a 0.5 incomplete, signed by Stanley, blah, blah, blah. But it gave it a 0.5 incomplete because it was missing a coupon. Coupon was cut out. And that kind of irked me because I was like, man, the book looked like a 7.0. No joke. It looked high grade. And I was like, all right, there should be something else to do with that. But I mean, it's incomplete, but it I don't know. It's kind of a weird subject for me on that aspect.
It's like if I buy a Incredible Hulk 181 and I'm thinking maybe a green label,
mm-hmm.
and it says coupon cut. Well, which coupon? There's more than one. Mm-hmm. Is it one that affects story, which to me would lower the amount I'm willing to pay, or does it not affect story?
Yeah.
Incomplete. They told me a coupon was cut. Obviously, it's incomplete, so they don't have to put that. I'm with them on that.
Yeah, I'm understanding that, but be more specific. But does it affect the story? Or it doesn't affect the story, because the coupon I had when they put on it didn't affect story. So to me, it raised the value of the book compared to one that does affect. Yeah, like you're missing a piece of the story, and you're like, all right, now it's a big deal,
Yeah. Aggressively says CGC is proud to announce we're going to take this a little less seriously, y'all. Yeah, that's basically what it sounds like. Now, some of you out there and Hudat, they might say, but wait, they're going to put it all on the grader's notes, and the grader's notes are free to members. 2 problems with that. One is they are not free to members. It is built into the cost of the membership. And it's not free if you don't have a membership. You must pay $25 right now. That's probably going to increase at some point. Or a higher tier in the hundreds of dollars to have access to grader's notes. And it wasn't until a few months ago that you could actually look at grader's notes on every CGC book if you were a member. It used to be only on what you submitted. Second problem, I don't know about you, Hudat, but I have mid-grade comics from CGC with no notes. Does this mean we're going to get much better note-taking? Or are we going to get a 5.0 ASM, 53 with no notes, but yet it has a coupon cut that affects story, and we just don't know? And someone opens that thinking I can press it and get it, but well, no, you can't.
Yeah, that's now you're relating on human beings to do their job correctly on that aspect. And what we've seen, that's not going to happen. I got even better story. I got a guy who was selling an all select comics number 6. It was a 2.0. He showed the front and the back, and it looked amazing. It looked nice. It looked like it should be a mid-grade. He couldn't figure out it was a 2.0. I don't think he sold it because people are like, man, what is wrong with it? Something has to be wrong with this book to be a 2.0. And it had no notes at a 2.0. This book had no notes at a 2.0. And I've gotten books that are 9.6s. You can see the spine tip, so that should be notated. All right, it's a 9.6, but it has a spine tip, but they don't even do that. That's obvious because you can see it, so you'd be like, "Oh, they should at least have it marked." Because the 9.6, you can't tell what's wrong with it. All right, but if I could see it's spine tip and you chose not to put that on the notes, now you're like. No, they're not going to do that. They're not, like I said, you trust human beings to do their job, and they're not going to do their job correctly.
To do the job that they've been failing at, essentially, correctly now.
Yeah.
I don't trust that that's going to happen.
And they're pumping out way more books now this will slow them down.
Defects.
Yeah, this will slow them down. Yeah.
Because if they don't put notes on it, it doesn't matter if you got the most honest dealer in the world, they're not going to know. And then you're not going to know when you buy it. And then again, if I don't have a membership and I'm relying on a seller, unless I just know this seller, most of the time you don't know who you're buying from personally. So how would you know, even if they said, yeah, I got Grader's notes, it could be from a different book. You don't know. Yep. I mean, really. I don't understand. And
not me on a
Yeah, I was about to. Well, actually, let me highlight this. Then I'll say what I was going to say. People were thinking Blackstone buying the encapsulation company was going to be a good thing. Yeah, right.
I did not. You can see every video I talked about it. I never did because I know the experience.
Oh, someone told me, or I'm not going to say who said this, but it's the person I said didn't do a good job off air who that made the statement. If someone's spending a lot of money on books, they're probably going to have a membership anyway. So it's not that big a deal. They'll have the notes. Well, if they put the grader's notes for one thing, but what if it's someone like me? Now, I happen to have an associate membership to CGC because occasionally I'll send something. But for the most part, I'm CBCS. So why would I buy a membership to the competing company just to look up the one or two books I might buy at a con or online when I pay membership and do my business with this other company?
Yeah.
That don't make no sense. And another problem with that is I would surmise that most people that spend this extreme amount of money on books, they probably don't have a membership because they just pay the money. But now what you're doing is you're telling them they have to trust the seller to give them correct information after they ask for it, not it's just on the slab, or you're forcing them to pay you something just for information. And I don't care who you are. You force me to do something I don't want to do. I don't care if it's cheap. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. 2 points on what you're talking about. I know we both know a few people who spend a lot of money on books.
Yeah.
I would actually bet my paycheck, so that means I'm pretty confident that they don't have memberships because they're not sending in books to get graded. So they're not going to spend the $25 or whatever it is that they increase it to, because they will increase that.
Most people guarantee they're not a dealer or their shop.
Yeah, so I know, a couple of my Man Cave Comics, I don't think he has an account, but he buys some big books and he relies of what the wording is on the book when he buys them to make his decision. And then if you're going to a con, like you did mention, I don't know who's been to a con where the service has been amazing. I haven't been to one yet. So you go to a con, you're looking at books, you say, well, even if you had a paid membership, you're trying to look it up, you're like, I don't have service, so the service is not great. So you're relying on the dealer to hopefully give you the correct stuff, and hopefully they have the correct stuff.
Assuming he's already looked it up when he had good internet.
Yes. So So that's.
And I would also say that I bet most people buy their books online without a membership. So I'm talking like eBay, not like YouTube. How in the world have we got? There's no. The trust is out the window, as far as I'm concerned. And I've been CBCS for over a year now, And this to me is I put on the CGC IG post about this. Well, I guess they don't have to worry about Steve Borak being a matter now. I think
They're
CGC is
worried
going
about
to be just fine.
Yeah, Steve Borak leaving, but he left them so much better. Like,
Yes.
look, like when they did the upgrades and they did the new service
yeah.
and they got the new slabs and now they're doing the magazine. I think he felt comfortable. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I think they're good. I think they're good, and he chose. And I think he's getting more into comics. And his mindset, if anybody knows Steve, he doesn't want to collect the comics because he's grading comics, so he doesn't want to have the influence. But him taking another job, I think he's getting that itch to collect again.
Yeah.
So that's probably why he took that job. It wasn't because anything with CBCS.
For those who don't know, it was Steve who helped to start CGC. He also left them.
Yeah, he left them.
Okay.
Yeah, and he left them for a totally different reason. He tells the story. He left them because they wouldn't give him any percentage of what he's creating and what he's starting. They basically wanted him as like a comic creator back in the day as hired work. That's what they wanted him to be, hired work, and he couldn't accept that. Which I'm agree with him. If you want me to create a product for you and sell it for you, I should get at least a little small percentage of it because I'm in the creation of it. And they didn't want to do that, so he ended up leaving them. That's how he left them, and then he started CBCS, and he had ownership in that. So,
and probably not, but how are they going to do anything if they don't catch it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey,
I think eventually people who have memberships, they might be like, hey, I'll look it up for you $1. You know what I mean? Like, somebody might say that.
Yep, that is right. And I believe that does.
They're still going to stay a green label,
has the value stamp.
But they still will get a green label. That's what I read the thing.
But you can pay, I believe, to have a blue label, but it's a lower grade. Same.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. And if it's a green label, someone that doesn't know anything might think, oh, it's just a pretty green label. Because there won't be anything on the label. You see what we're saying, people? And I never liked the fact that they take a signature of like Stan Lee, and that's a green label, but John Smith writes on his book, and that's just a blue label with a lower grade. That's like backdoor non-authentic. I don't like it. I wish they would stop. I think it's evil.
Oh, I like when they authenticate anything signed inside the cover or on the splash page or whatever have you. Say, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird signed the inside cover. But if they write on the outside they didn't witness, they'll be a green label, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of shady. Like, so you're verifying the other one, but this one is not because I didn't hire somebody to watch it.
Yeah, to me, unless you're going to authenticate like CBCS does, if you're CGC and you only do the signatures, if you're watching and witnessing them, then all signatures should be blue label and writing on cover or writing on interior and affect the grade.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no green labels for that. Green label is for coupons cut or page missing or stuff like that gives it a qualifier. Because if for those of you that don't know, a 8.0 green label is probably a 6.5 or 7.0 blue label, depending on what made it green, like a coupon cut. They just do the green label so they can give you a higher grade. That's what that is. Well, who that? We got a few minutes here. Does anyone have anything they want to?
I think
or any question in the chat, or who that? You got something else?
Well, I'll say while we're waiting, maybe some questions or some thoughts or whatever in the chat. But I think this is all about the money at the end of the day. Yeah. I forgot to touch on the thing that hit me at the beginning when they said prominent members of the community, because who are these prominent members? My thoughts are, I have an idea of what some of these prominent members are, and I'll call out the ones that I know I won't get in trouble for. It's like the Heritage Comics and the Comic Links and in the Comic Connects. Those are probably part of those people, because they might have approached them and said, "Hey, Heritage, what if something was on the notes and like tape, and this book didn't have it? Would it sell better without it?" And I'm just thinking of probably, they probably said, "Oh, it would sell better if it didn't have it on it." And that's another way I was thinking that might have been some of the prominent members.
Yeah.
Other prominent members are probably high level dealers that have millions of dollars in inventory.
Think about what you just said, though. You said if this wasn't on the label, it would sell for more.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what they're doing is trying to hide information from you so you think it's not there and you'll pay more money. That's dishonest. Yes, it's in the grader's notes, but correct me if I'm wrong, but they do not just supply grader's notes on Comic Link or Heritage when something's up for bid. You have to physically look it up on your own.
On your own, and if you're like last minute looking at stuff, not everybody follows the auctions 24/7 or knows ahead of time what they're going to list. Sometimes I look at stuff literally the day this stuff goes off, and I might have 5 minutes to decide if I'm going to bid. And my 5 minutes is, guess what? Looking up the GPA and deciding if I'm going to bid. I don't have time to look up grader's notes and GPA if I'm doing something because I don't never plan ahead. Oh, let me get ready for this auction.
Yeah.
And look up all this stuff. But that's kind of shady. You know what I mean? Because we might see price increases on books because they're going to be missing a lot of stuff so we might see another price hike in the market, but it's going to be kind of manipulated because of nothing on the label.
And I wonder, CBCS puts that stuff on the label. I wonder if that's going to have an effect. You have one company that does and one company that doesn't. And I mean, yeah, there are other companies, but let's face it, they have nothing compared to the others.
Yeah, it's one and two. I hate to say 1 and 2 people in the race.
Yeah. I mean, I'm rooting for EGS, but he's got a ways to go. Hopefully he's going to get that new case, but he's got a way to go.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see, but I know auction houses and probably prominent dealers had a smile on their face when they saw this. I know they did, because it's easier. I know from my experience, it's easier to sell a book with nothing on it than to sell a book that might have stuff listed on it, and it doesn't look because I said, because I sold him a book that said had tape, was detached and had tape on the cover. You look at it in the slab, you could not tell. So imagine if if that was taken off of there, we would have never knew, because I'm not looking up the grader notes on a low grade book because it's a low grade book. I'm not, but I'd have never knew it would, because it looked so beautiful, and I was like, all right.
This is the book who that is talking about, the one that I got from him.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that spine? It looks real good, doesn't it? I mean, it's a 1.8, but it
looks like the spine makes it look like a 1.8. It looks like a 1.8.
See, here's the rub, folks.
Yep, is it I know it's a tape or something. Yeah, a spine cover completely, but reattached with tape.
Cover detached. You wouldn't know it now.
And I see people sending books like that back in to get the new case, and all it's gonna do is, oh man, it looks like a beautiful 1.8 that that's been loved.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just my opinion on that. So you might see a lot of stuff like that.
It's endorsing dishonesty.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna get an influx of recasing. I can tell you that, especially with books with tape on it, or all of the stuff that he just showed, because it's easier. I'm gonna repeat it over and over. It's easier to sell a book with no notes on the slab than it is with notes. It is. So I don't know how the chat thinks or feels about that. I would love to know these predominant members, but they'll never release that. Because they obviously didn't ask the community, and people were talking about if we make enough noise. And I said, they don't care about enough
And,
noise. It's already
and
in. If they did this whole presentation on their
right,
website, it's already in play and it's going
right.
forward.
And just so you guys know, that book that I showed that we talked about, on the list of stuff they're not mentioning, it says fully split spine. So that's not going to be mentioned. And then it's going to say discontinuing the term incomplete and all that stuff.
The tape's
And
not going to be on there.
it'll continue to display restoration and conservation. Well, that's just reattached with tape.
Yeah, and that's not considered.
Tape is not on there. Detachments not on there. So literally nothing on that book that it said on the label will be there anymore. It'll just be Lois Lane number 2, 1.8. Wonder why it's 1.8. Who knows? Unless you pay money to get the grader's notes and pray to God that they actually put notes on the book. That's the biggest issue I have, is I have mid-grade stuff. He's seen a 2.0 with no notes. That's what's most infuriating. And I know all you people know what we're talking about, because I see you doing your CGC unboxings, being like, why is this a 9.6? Why is this a 9.4? You looking at
Disco always does it. Disco always does it. And I feel bad because he always goes, and I've seen him have books 8.0s and stuff like that. He goes, let's see if there's any notes. And he goes, oh, no notes. I haven't seen him once have a book with notes. And I'm laughing not at him. I'm laughing at CGC for sending those books to him and not having no notes. Like, you can't have an 8.0 with no notes. I'm sorry.
Right. I get from CBCS, I get 9.8s, and I've gotten higher than that actually. No notes. Every single 9.6 or lower book I have ever got in all my years since 2016, 17, I have had notes on the book. Every single one.
Yeah, and I'll definitely I agree with that, because I looked at it recently. I looked at all the books that I gotten for CBCS. Like I said, every 9.8 and above, I have not got any notes. But 9.6s or lower, I've always had notes. I got a 9.6 ASM 209 book, and I was like, why is it a 9.6? Guess what? I looked up the notes. Oh, it has a manufacturing defect. That's why it gave me a 9.6. But at least I know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be looking at it and be like, this is a 9.8. What's going on?
And their notes are completely free. Literally, Joe Smith can walk in off the street to a computer, go to Grader's Notes, and find any notes that he wants on any book with CBCS without paying a dime.
And guess what? They gotten even better because of the QR code works amazingly. Take that picture of that QR code, it'll pop up right to where the book's at.
Yeah. Now, before we get out of here, there is one gripe with people that I want to get off my chest. Why is it, if you're one of those people, and if you're in the chat, I'm sorry, but if you're one of those people that sells on any platform and shows a slab and blacks out that number, the certification number, you're an idiot. I'm just going to say that right now. That is not going to give me your address, social security number, and birthday, okay? All that is the information on the book itself. It lets me see grader's notes. It lets me see when it was graded. It lets me see all the information that is on the slab itself on the label. That's all that is. So I love everybody, but if you're one of those people that blacks that out, you're an idiot.
I never understood why people did that anyway. I guess what, I've never bought from those people anyway, because
same here.
I felt that they're trying to hide something. So guess what? Now with the new system with CGC, if you do it now, you're definitely trying to hide something. So yeah, so you might want to not do that when they start issuing these new slabs. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
definitely
immediately
called
is a red flag.
Red flag shady. That's what it's gonna be now. Once these new slabs come in. Before, this was like, why? But now it's definitely going to look like that.
Well, all right, man. I guess we've talked it about as much as we can. Thanks everybody for coming. We had up to I think 8 people watching this. In about 20 minutes, Hudat's going to be on Whatnot selling some Titan level things. So we'll let you guys go. Thanks again for stopping by. There you go. And hey, we'll catch you later. See y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And appreciate